Hello, welcome to Lilian and welcome to this video on the channel. Today's topic is about a wish come true, well, about 50 years later. So it's about my half-brother. So it starts with the fact that when I was about 2-3 years old, my mother threw out my father and they got divorced, and then it was just me and my mother in our home. So I was like, when I was about 5 years old, I said to my mother, well, I want a bigger brother, Mom. I really want a bigger brother, an older brother. And she was like laughing and said, well, that's not possible to create right now. So I was like, okay, fine. But I had friends who were a little bit older than me that I spent time with. And, we played together when I was young. And then when I was about 12 years old, she thought it was time to tell what she knew about it. So she told me that, my mother and father, they met about 4 or 5 years old before, 4 or 5 years before I was born. And she went to party with him to his friend, and there, before that party, she had seen photos of my father when he was young at his parents' place. So at that party, my mother could see about a 1-year-old boy running around, and he looked very much like my father. And he lived with a family with dark hair, while he was the one with blonde hair. And my father had blonde hair. Had blonde hair. Okay, so she was like suspicious about it, but she didn't say anything. She kept it in her head for many years. And she told me about that when I was 12 years old then. And but I was like, I didn't want to ruin his life with, breaking the family things, or, upset him or anything. And we were not sure, there was no DNA test really common in those days. I don't know if it existed when I was, in the beginning of 80s, So I was like, okay, I'll leave it behind for a bit and see what happens next. So I focused on other things for a bit, and then when I lived in North Wales when I was in the 40s, in the beginning of 40s. Then my father called me, and I could hear that he was drunk. So I was like, okay, now I'm gonna ask the question, and then he's gonna tell the truth, yeah, when he's drunk. So I asked him, and he told me that his friend Mona, she had a husband who worked at night at a big paper factory in a small town. So he went to her at night sometimes. And then when the baby was born, Mona called my father and said that he had to pay for her to stay a little bit longer. Yeah, at the birth hospital where she could rest a little bit longer after he was born. But my father didn't even know his name. I mean, his birth name. He only knew his, their surname. But then he said, "Oh, I'm going to call my friend in that town and ask what happened, And then a couple of hours later, he called me back, and he was crying because the friend had told him that that boy had died in a car crash in USA about 5 years before when this was happening, So, but he didn't even know his name at all. So I was like, oh gosh, why couldn't he ask for his name? But I was very suspicious because I had a feeling that that was a lie about my, maybe brother's name, and that he died. The lie about his death in USA. So I was like, that friend told that to my father because they don't want my father to see that son. But I'm not sure if it's my father who lied about it, or if he actually called a friend about it. I don't know, but that's what he told to me. Then I just left it behind and thought, whatever, we'll see. And then when I lived in Sweden again, I checked in a group on Facebook and asked about, the brother's, birth date or something, because I knew his, parents, his father and his mother. And somebody answered me and told the birth date, the year, and his name, and that he lived in another place in 1970. So when he was 5 years old. So they had moved before that to another place. And I was like, ooh, okay. But I was like, no, it's not the right time now to contact him. So I waited a bit longer. And then 2022, I got into MyHeritage again and put in my father's friend as a friend to my father, and put in on my family tree then like their son, my father and his friend and the son and his name in there. And then I got information that he had been on MyHeritage. He had been active 10 years before that, when I did that, 2022. So I was like, that I was right. I was right about that lie about his death. So he was, alive after I had talked to my father about it. So I did a DNA test at MyHeritage to check, with him. But then I searched on a website about his address, where he lived. And I was like, am I gonna contact him on, online, or am I gonna send him a real letter? And I was like, online, that could be like a suspicion about fraud. So I was like, I write a real letter, put it in an envelope and send it to his address. So I wrote that very kindly and said, I'm sorry about disturbing you and your life, but I'm suspicious about, I'm curious about if you are my brother. So, and I wrote that I was real. I am real. And my phone number and, stuff. And then he contacted me on Messenger. So he wrote to me that, "Hi Lilian, thank you for your letter, but it feels unreal that we are siblings. But it might be possible." So his biological father, the father he grew up with, had died 2 weeks before that time when he got the letter. And his mother had died earlier, before that. So, and my father died in January 2020. So it felt right after my father had died to do this, and it felt right to do it when his parents were not alive anymore. So we had contact, and he did a DNA test a few months later, and then we had contact. We wrote, things and sent pictures and stuff, and I like that he's curious, and I'm curious too. So I was like, yay, at least he's not saying completely no to it. So then he did a DNA test, and in the beginning of June 2023, I got a message in the morning saying, "Hello, little sister." And I was like, wow, I have an older brother. I have a brother, for real. So, I mean, when I was 5 years old, or about that, maybe I already knew that I had a brother when I was asking for it. But, well, about 50 years later, then I got the truth. Then I got my half-brother, for real. So I'm gonna show some pictures about, here is my father and me when I was young. And this is when he's older, my father. And here is me and my brother when we were at school. We look a bit similar, but not 100% since we're half siblings. But then, after the DNA test, he came to visit me at Midsummer 2023. So this is me and my half-brother after all these years. My wish came true. That's us. So I am so happy to have a brother. Well, it's a bit late, but still we have contact. So then we have very much similar interest in things, you know, history and nature and old things. So it's like it's really fun to actually, you know, see it for real. Meeting my brother after all these years and feeling like, well, maybe I already knew that when I was young. So, and it feels good that I listen to my inner feeling, you know, instead of forcing it early when he was young, because that could have, you know, it could have become a war and a fight between the family in some way. So it's really good that it happened now, really. So and my half brother is agreed with this. So don't be, you know, afraid that he's gonna not like me sharing this story, but he's okay with this. So I hope that your wish come true also. So that's the story of family, DNA and my half brother. So I wish you a great day, night or whatever. So see you next time. Bye.